So many of you now, or I would hope by now, know that Howard Webb had his little presentation, explanation, whatever you want to call it, with Michael Owen the other day, explaining the VAR decisions with Luis Diaz's disallowed goal against Tottenham for Liverpool, also the non-red cards or non-second yellow card for Kovacic in the Man City and Arsenal game the other week. And one of the people who were outspoken about this, one of them was Mark Goldbridge, and a lot of people as well, TalkSport, Sky News, etc. Many others have voiced their opinions as well. But Terry from the Football Terrace also spoke out, and he received a letter from a representative from the PGMOL, the Professional Game Match Officials Limited, or whatever the damn L stands for, right? I'm just amazed that out of all the people, I haven't seen Goldbridge speak about this yet. Many others, I mean, I voiced my opinions. I'm a nobody, granted, still new to the football side of things, not new to YouTube, but new to the football. And I'm just amazed that they actually sent him an email basically saying that, how dare you say Howard Webb cheated or whatever, which he did not do that. But kind of saying like, or if they didn't give something that they should have by their own rules, they said, we're not going to stop, or we're not going to, go away from the rules of the game just because something was incorrectly called. It's like, well, you're not even following your own rules by not calling red cards and yellow cards when they should be. So why the hell should we believe you on that stance there? But if we cross over here to the clip here, I'll play a little bit of this. I'll link it down below as well so you can watch the whole thing in its entirety. It's been up for about 3 hours, 22,000 views. So shout out to Terry. Let's hear what Terry has to say regarding the letter.
We're going to go through this in detail, but my initial thought is, wow, they want to shut down dissenting voices against their processes. To receive this email from the head of communications at the Professional Game Match Officials Association was a shock to me. For an opinion piece, based on what they'd said, explaining how I feel. And I was very clear in the video, when it comes to the element of corruption, I actually got called out by you, my community, because I said potential corruption. You're all saying to me, no, Terry, 100% it is. I'm saying that there's a chance it could be at some points in time because the world is full of corruption. Let's look into what actually happened. The email that I received, and look, I have pixelated the name of the individual because I'm not about causing that person problems. Phone numbers, details have been put over.
That's fair.
Is it getting in touch regarding your YouTube video, We Cheated Arsenal, Howard Webb on the VAR disgrace? He says, by using quotation marks, you are stating Howard Webb said this, which he didn't, as you know. Please amend this, and I would appreciate being informed when it is done. Would also welcome your reasoning as to why the wholly inaccurate headline was used.
I find it funny how the PGMOL are calling Terry for using a wholly inaccurate headline when mainstream media and the like, I know the PGMOL are not mainstream media, but mainstream media have been doing this for how long now? And no one seems to be actually, questioning that. They'll do witty lines, they'll do, subtext and sub headlines and all that sort of stuff. And no one ever says to them like, hang on a second, it's a bit of a, how's it going there? But for an opinion piece on a YouTube channel, they're going to go after him and say, why did you say it this way? It's like, well, it's clickbait, isn't it? At the end of the day, probably why I try to avoid participating in clickbait, but that's how it reads initially. But that's what's going to happen. That's how you have to get the attention of the viewers.
It wasn't a wholly inaccurate headline. If they would have taken the... Listen, let me rephrase that. I can appreciate why they think that. If you didn't watch the video.
Oh, here we go, the context.
Doesn't matter where in the world you are, we love it. It's part of our day-to-day life. We care about these decisions. But the TV companies don't. We get spoken to like little children, like we're dumb and told, patted on the head and told to run away. But no, we have our own platforms now. We have our own voices. This is a disgrace. For me, all I've heard Howard Webb say is, yeah, we cheated Arsenal.
That's interesting. He even says it himself. To me, all I hear is we cheated Arsenal based on Howard Webb's explanations as to why they didn't give Kovacic a second yellow card or even the first red card, why the VAR monitor wasn't used, etc., not going back on our own laws and rules to ruin the spectacle of the game. I mean, if you want me to talk about it, Simon Hooper had no problems ruining the spectacle of the match to get Jones sent off against Tottenham, but that's neither here nor there. But just to that point. So I heard it clear as crystal. Even Terry says it himself, to me, when Howard Webb is speaking, all I'm hearing is, we cheated Arsenal. Makes it clear as crystal.
But last week we cheated Liverpool. At the same weekend, I saw West Ham cheated this weekend. I saw a penalty not given for a push in the back on Ollie Watkins as he was about to strike the ball. There was a push on the back of a West Ham player when Isak did score. But there was also a push on a Spurs player when Luton scored, and it was disallowed for being a push. So as you all heard there, the main part of the headline, "We cheated Arsenal," was my opinion. And I'm absolutely entitled to put my opinion in the headline of my video.
100%. I have no issue with that whatsoever. It's your video. You're going to put what you want in there. If you're quoting somebody, maybe you need to make it clear that you are quoting a certain person. But just because you put a phrase with the commas out there to state that someone has said something, he said that. Did they look at the video, or did they just see the title and just think, well, hang on a second, he's saying we cheated, Howard Webb, VAR discretion. Oh, they're trying to say something that he didn't say. What is it? Slanderous because it's spoken, or defamation, or whatever it could be. So the PGMOL trying to effectively get Terry to change what he was saying, because how dare you say that, because he didn't say it. It's like, well, actually, if you look at it, I said this based on what he said. So my interpretation of what he's saying leads me to believe that they cheated Arsenal. It's easy to understand if you actually watch and listen to what is actually being said by Terry.
I didn't say Howard Webb said. I said we cheated Arsenal, because through what I heard Howard Webb say, and let's go back to what he said, the referee didn't want to impact the game negatively by overreacting. Yep. When he was discussing why he believed the second yellow wasn't given to Kovacic. My claim in the content, links in the description, by the way, go check out the video if you've not watched it yet, was that last week, it would have been 2 weeks ago now, referees were defended by their governing bodies and by ex-pro referees, that is, when they said, well, they couldn't restart. They restarted the game, Liverpool-Tottenham. They couldn't stop the game and bring the decision back because it's against the law. Then what I hear Howard Webb say is that the law was not followed because a referee didn't want to have a negative impact on the game. That reads to be a spectacle. And what I doubled up by saying in the video for pure context, and this is the issue here, context, is that's where the mainstream media comes in. They get access to the refs. They get access to Howard Webb. They get access to the PGMOL. The challenge, therefore, should be, instead of Michael Owen saying, thanks, mate, thanks for that, let's go grab a beer, the response should be, hang on a minute, are you saying that referees in big games don't follow the letter of the law because they want to try and keep it 11v11? They want the spectacle to be better. They don't want to damage the game by making it 10v11, which we know can sometimes take the sting out of game.
That pretty much makes refereeing useless if that's the case. If you're not going to call the calls that they should be, apologies for the bad freeze frame there on Tezza, but if they're not going to call how they should be called, then referees are not doing the job properly. Ergo, there could be some potential corruption, to use that term loosely, because if you're not doing something to the letter of the law as you should be, potentially you're jeopardizing the outcome of a match. So I think he's within his rights to say what he said, and I might leave it there so you can watch the rest of his video down below. Give him the views because he probably deserves it. It was him, of course, that got the email from the PGMOL, and maybe some other people will be looking at their inboxes being, given these letters which read like, if you don't change what you said, we'll come after you in a way, because he never said this. It's like, well, now they're going to tell us what we can and can't say about referees. They're going to tell us what we can and can't say to give our opinions on things. The PGMOL, Mark Goldbridge says they're a dictatorship. They lead with some authoritative, was it totalitarian, whatever the word is, rule, iron fist and all that. And it is basically jobs for mates. It is all, jobs for the boys, effectively. If you screw up, don't worry, we've got your back. If they screw up, don't worry, we've got their back. That's how it reads. So, Terry, interesting to see how this happens. Not how this happens, rather. I'll be interested to see what happens there on now after, since he has responded. So check out his video down below. This has been my initial thoughts and opinions, because I've just looked at this first time as well. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Are they really trying to get you to shut up and not criticize them, or are they within their rights to say, hang on a second, change the headline, and then maybe we'll drop everything else? If it's just a headline change, potentially there could be something with the headline change. Now, I don't know if he's going to do that, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.